guys, thank you for tuning in again to my YouTube channel. I am in the car per usual. I am on my way to deliver some orders and I'm eating grapes in between, so y'all don't have to forgive me. This is completely unprofessional, but we gotta do what we gotta do. So it is one cold day here in Georgia. I am like so sick of winter already, and it started maybe 2 seconds ago. Usually our winters aren't that bad, but I just hate the cold. Anything really below like 68 I hate. I don't like cold, windy weather at all. And anybody who knows me knows I am a summer girl. Give me 75 degrees. I'm never like the one always complaining about hot heat. Now, I do get hot, don't get me wrong, but I would much rather the cold. I much rather the heat than the cold. So there's that. Anyway, today we are going to be having a car convo because I am on the run and I got to start dropping some more videos. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about boundaries. And boundaries is something that a lot of people are starting to realize we're all missing from our relationships, whether it be friends, family, work, or even within ourselves. So that's something that I felt like we should probably openly talk about here on the channel. So let's get right on into it. First and foremost, let me just say, I don't think our older generations was taught boundaries because we never really had time to really understand why there was a need for them. I think a lot of times we just rely on our elders in our family lives to kind of just not necessarily dictate in a bad way, but just dictate because they have been here longer. They have an understanding of how life works for the most part, and they're able to give advice for, whatever period you are in your life. They're able to give advice on how they were feeling, what they were thinking, what worked for them, etc. So I never want to downplay or make it seem like, they don't know what they're talking about, or like just their advice sucks, because that's completely not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, when it comes to parenting, a lot of times most people feel like their way is the only way, and that's not true. Just like 2 + 2 = 4, 1 + 3 = 4 as well. So I don't know if that makes sense, but there's more than one way to get to 4. Understand that. So boundaries. Why most people don't have boundaries up, like I said, probably wasn't a true need for them back in the day, but now that we are moving forward toward the future, a lot of information is out there for a variety of things when it comes to parenting. We have so many resources. Of course, now you can literally go to your phone, on the internet, on whatever, like even Facebook and Instagram. They have influencers, they have groups, they have channels that can openly talk about just things you have questions about. So we no longer have to rely solely on the elders from our family or wherever to kind of just give us information regarding parenting. And that's, I would say that's a good thing, because it kind of opens your mind to like being open about other ways of doing things. Somehow, some way, somebody in Australia might put in, a group saying this is what worked for me and my family. Or somewhere in Timbuktu, somebody has said this is what worked or didn't work for my family. And you might be in that same situation. Y'all live nowhere close to each other. And that's great. I think that that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Like, we have resources nowadays where we can really explore those type of options now, whereas before they didn't have that. So it's great that we have it. I don't necessarily think that a lot of people utilize the resources because they are still stuck in, or not even stuck, maybe they're just okay with consulting with the elders of their families, and that's okay too. But I think the problem with consulting with elders is because they never had to establish boundaries, they feel like they have to enforce what they're saying as, you know, law. And like, if you don't do it that way, then something's wrong with you. And that is not the case. I will say, going into parenting, I thought that that's what I had to do. I mean, it looks like history just keeps replaying itself until somebody says, you know what, let me do my own investigation, my own research on, you know, parenting and what I choose and what I want to do. And then only then I think you realize, like, you know, there are other ways you can do certain things when it comes to your child. But initially I didn't know that. You know, I just thought you had to listen to your mama and your grandma of how to change a diaper, how to feed a baby, how to do this, how to do that, sticking to a sleep schedule, breastfeeding, all kinds of things. And that's not the case. And once I realized, once I had my daughter, that I was going to probably be doing things a bit differently than how my family has done it, I had to do my own research because nobody was there to help me and in that manner. Sorry, I'm about to chew and choke on this grape. Let me chew this up and put this aside. Okay, I'll finish the rest of those when I'm done with the video. Okay, so yeah, like, I didn't have a go-to person to where I could be like, well, how did you do this and how did you do that? For some stuff, yes, I did. Like, breastfeeding is literally a handful of people. I mean, I wouldn't even say a handful, like a pinch of people I could, you know, consult with and really like ask questions about breastfeeding, because not a lot of people breastfeed. That's a different story for a different day. I don't understand why more of our Black women are breastfeeding, but I do understand breastfeeding is time consuming. A lot of times we don't have the time to dedicate to breastfeeding. I know my situation is a lot different from most people. I am a stay-at-home mom. I quit my job and did not turn back and will not turn back. Everybody doesn't have that option. I was willing to lose out on how much I get paid an hour, and it was a high number, and worked so hard. And I worked so hard to get to that number. Throughout the years, I went to school, got my degree, working in the office, yada yada yada, and I threw it all away because I wanted to be home with my child. So I get it. I am blessed beyond measure when it comes to being able to stay home with my kid, because everybody's situation is not that. They have to go back to work after 12 weeks, if you even get that. So I've heard people have to go back at 2 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever. So I get it. Also with breastfeeding, everybody does that even differently. So there's some people who breastfeed exclusively. There's some people who breastfeed and pump. There's some people who exclusively pump. There's some people who they breastfeed but they don't co-sleep. So they have to like get up every time the baby wakes up. Sometimes that could be every 30 minutes. That could be every hour, an hour and a half, every 2 hours. It just depends on how your kid sleeps. And so there are a lot of different variables when it comes to even that. So I didn't have a lot of people I can consult with, because in my family, I would say, because a lot of people didn't do it. Situation was different. However, thankfully in today's society, because we have the many platforms, social media platforms that we utilize, I have been able to find a group of women. I wouldn't even say a group of women. It's a lot of people like in this main mom group who are able to help me because they're in the same situation that I'm in. And I'm so grateful, because without them and the questions that people ask and the topics that they post in the posts, I wouldn't know. Anyway, I'm saying all of this to say, once I was able to gain knowledge and information regarding how I was going to parent, it stuck with me, and I was like, okay, this is how I want to do things. Unfortunately, when you think for yourself and you put your foot down on what you will and will not do as it pertains to your child, a lot of people are not accepting of that, unfortunately. So what you'll find is people will make you question yourself, make you question your parenting skills, because you're a first-time parent. They will ask questions to try to, like, I guess, be nosy be nosy and see like how it really is working out for you. And don't get me wrong, any way you parent is hard. It don't matter how you choose to parent, what you choose to do, it all is hard. And the reason why it's all hard is because it's new, and it's something that you're not used to, and it's a big responsibility. But when there is no boundary there for people in your family, they will literally dog walk you in your feelings. Like, they will overstep, they will speak up and say how they feel on certain things and won't allow you to speak up on how you feel about certain things. And then they'll make you have self-doubt about parenting, and you shouldn't feel that way at all, especially when you have the information there from the mommy chats, from influencers who are doing the exact same thing that you are doing. Like, it's really kind of aggy a little bit, but you got to do it. You got to have boundaries. And one way I would say to have those boundaries kind of like created is stating them. Like, don't be afraid to openly express how you feel about certain things. So, case in point, we were just talking about breastfeeding. A lot of my family members did not breastfeed, so they'll occasionally make slick and sly comments about me breastfeeding and the way that I breastfed, because they have probably done it differently. And it could be not intentional. It could be very much unintentional with how they're saying things, but you have to be on guard and very, very clear about what you want to do and what you won't accept from other people. So for instance, with breastfeeding, I try not even really, make that a conversation, because it's really between me and Jalea, my daughter. But if somebody asks a question, sure, why not? But when I feel like the conversation is going to, why are you still breastfeeding, or she should be doing this or she should be doing that by now, I stop the conversation. Because at that point, it tells me that you're not interested in what me and Jalea want. You're interested in what you have to say about the situation. And I'm not interested in that. I'm not knocking anybody who decides to stop their breastfeeding journey for whatever reason may be. It's a lot of different factors for stopping of a breastfeeding journey. But me and Jalea are just fine. It works out for us. It helps me tremendously when I need her to either calm down or, receive some type of comfort. It works tremendously for me, and I'll stop when she's ready to stop. But a lot of people aren't okay with that. They think that, breastfeeding is only meant to, go on for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And then it gets weird for whatever reason they think it gets weird. And, you know, they're entitled to their opinion, but so am I. And my opinion is that I'm not going to stop breastfeeding my daughter until she's ready to stop. Period. And I don't feel like I even have to give a reason why I'm doing that. But the reason is like I just said, it's like super duper like convenient that I am still breastfeeding, because it works out for us. It works out for us. And you know, Jalea enjoys it for the most part. She doesn't have any issues with it. I'm not forcing it down her throat. Like, she enjoys it. It's not bothering me. I don't have to get up early in the morning to go anywhere, like work or whatever. And it keeps her, when she is sleeping, it keeps her kind of like content, because she knows that I'm there, because she smells the milk. And we're fine. Like, we're good. But a lot of people, it just makes them uncomfortable. And honestly, I don't really care if it makes them uncomfortable, because it's really about my daughter and me. And if we're both okay, then I'm okay. And I'm okay with continuing it. That's my reason for doing it for so long. But I shouldn't have to go into that spiel every time somebody questions why I'm still breastfeeding Jalea. And I'm not going to keep going through it all the time. So there it is. But again, to have that, you have to be so convinced within yourself, and you have to have that boundary up. Otherwise, people will talk you out of doing everything for your kid that you want to do. Another one that I find that's really, really huge is eating. So outside of breastfeeding, obviously, but like table food. I am a firm believer in, you know, wait until 6 months to, you know, start babies on table food, and then starting off with something as simple as oatmeal, because it's like easily digestible, and like you know, it's just it's nutritious, and you know, it's something just quick and easy to make for the mom or dad. It's nothing like super like hard. But a lot of people start their child off with rice cereal, and you know, I know back in the day, or like in the past, that has been like a staple for most parents to start their children off. But you know, now they're starting to realize it doesn't have any nutritional value. It, you know, has like a whole bunch of loads of arsenic in it. It's just a whole bunch of stuff that's really not good. It's not like the benefits are not more than like the cons of it. And so like I decided not to go with rice cereal, and that was because, you know, I have information that has been given to me. I have read, I have researched, and even like I think Jalea's pediatrician was like, nah, you probably should. And she is definitely old school, but she even like vouched for me not to even go that route, and I was like, okay. And so I know that has been something that people have questioned in the past, as to why I didn't start Jalea with rice cereal, and I did my own research. So that was another boundary. I'm not going to just do things just because somebody said that I should do it. You know, like I should always be my child's advocate, and so that means that I have to ask the right questions, and be okay with asking questions, and say, you know, I know this is what they did in the past, but why are they doing this? What is the benefit? What is the true benefit of it? And is it going to bring any harm to my kid? And all of that. So that is in a sense a boundary when it comes to that. And then when people try to make it seem like you're doing the most or being extra, blah 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 blah, be extra for your kid. Be super extra, super duper duper extra. and let them know that you're not willing to just do things just because so-and-so did it, or just because they did it, or whatever the case may be. Like, just do the most for your child. I used to feel so bad about wanting to do so much for my child and be different and stuff like that. Now I don't care. Like, I want to be different because I don't want to be like y'all. I do not want to be like y'all at all. Anyway, I'm going off into a tangent, but basically, essentially what I'm saying is create the boundary when it comes to your parenting, because people will try to make it seem like you don't know what you're talking about, or you just doing the most. Now, don't get me wrong, I have read things in the mommy groups sometimes, and I've tried them out for myself, and they have been wrong in some things. Yes, they have. Or just they've done and suggested things that I don't think is beneficial for my lifestyle. So let me be fair and say that, like I said in the beginning, not all things that the older generation have given us, I would say, as far as advice and suggestions, are bad. But most of the stuff that they are passing down into the generations, and this is unintentional, but most of the things that they are passing down are no longer useful. Times have changed, things have changed, and it's okay to do your own research and ask questions. That is what I'm saying. So the boundary can remain firm when you say, you know what, I understand, I hear what you're saying, but this is the way that I'm going to do things. So that's it for family. I don't really have too much for family. Like, I'll go on forever and ever for that. When it comes to boundaries, also with your family, and I just said I was done, but I do need to add this. How you care for your child and how you do things, you'll learn your own schedule and you'll be able to work things out, but family needs to know where they stand also when it comes to the advice. They need to know, when you're ready to accept advice, and if it's unsolicited, that they need to keep it to themselves. They need to know that how you do things should remain top priority. If you leave your child in their possession, they need to know that your way of doing things is top priority. Not the way that they did it for you, not the way that they did it for whoever else in the family, the way that you want it done. And even if you have to write it out for them, just in case they say something like, oh, I forgot, and dirt. No. The way you do things is how they need to be doing it. Do not let anybody gaslight you and say, oh, well, I raised you just fine and look at you now. Or they'll say, oh, I had X amount of kids. I know a little bit of something about having a child in my possession, blah, blah, blah. Don't let nobody gaslight you. If they are unable to listen to how you want things done and the way that you want to do things, you do not need to leave your child with them. Do not leave your child with them, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. They're going to do it the way that they want to do it. And then you're going to get there to pick up your child, or they're going to drop your child off, and you're going to say, how did things go? Well, I did this or I did that. Something's going to happen. And you're going to be like, well, I thought I asked for you to do X, Y, and Z. And then that's when all the unsolicited advice and all the suggestions and all the extra from them comes. It should not be that hard. If you ask somebody to watch your child and for you to lay them on their backs when they go to sleep and they lay them on their stomachs, red flag. Red flag. Because how hard is that? How hard is it for you to follow simple directions? If you leave your child with them and you tell them, listen, I don't want you feeding them rice cereal. I want you to feed them oatmeal or feed them, these baby jars or whatever the case may be. And you come back and then you smell, pork chops on your baby breath. Red flag. Don't you leave your baby with them. Because at the end of the day, if you have to take your child to a hospital, urgent care, or even if you're bringing them back home and something is off with them and you don't know, or like you do know what happened and you're the one who has to deal with it, you're going to be upset. You're going to be frustrated because there's a lack of boundaries. They are not there to support you and your needs and the baby's needs for what you want done and what you want done for the baby. Don't do it. I'm trying to tell you right now, do not do it. Do not. It is not worth it. So, I mean, that's just my advice. I don't want to project too much on y'all, but I'm just saying, keep the boundaries up with your family, because if you don't, you're going to be stupid mad. Sorry, I'm looking. You're going to be mad. You're going to be mad and upset because you wish you would have just had them up in the beginning, because there should be no question after you tell them what you want done. And even if you do have boundaries up and you like express exactly what you want from the person and they still choose to do it their way and not listen to how you want things done, then just take it for what it is, and take it as, you know what, this is somebody that I cannot rely on. They're not going to listen. And it, again, can be very unintentional. Maybe they thought in their head, in their mind, they thought feeding your baby pork chops was going to go one way and it went another way. And they could have very well good intentions. But if they cannot listen and follow basic rules, these are basic rules, how can you trust them? And I want somebody from the older generation, whoever follows me from the older generation, if you understand where I'm coming from, please drop down in the comments and let me know, like, why folks do that. Why do they feel like they can just completely ignore what you say? Like, why? But why they do that? Anyway, let me move on. So, that's family. So when it comes to friends, I don't really have too much on friends. I'll say when it comes to boundaries and friends, let me just say this. If you're the first person in your friends group who are parents, or first-time parents, or you just new to parenthood and then your friends don't have any kids, the way you see life now is going to be definitely different from how they see things now, or how they see life. And you were once there, but now that you are a parent, you're going to see things a lot differently. And that is totally fine. It's okay. But just understand that. So a lot of times when your friends say and do things out loud that may contradict how you view parenthood and children, etc., don't charge it to their heart, because they don't know. They're unaware of what's truly going on. And you just kind of just gotta let it roll off your back, because they don't know yet. So that's for the friends who ain't parents. Now, people who are parents and they say something out of the way, I've had to learn, again, being confident in how I parent, and just accepting that everybody is not going to see things the way that I see them when it comes to parenting. So, you know, for me, I'm a big time, I'm very, very big on conscious parenting, no corporal punishment, but everybody doesn't view it that way, and they don't do that for their child. And I try not to take it too much to heart. It is a big deal for me, as I am completely against anything outside of it. But I just have to keep reminding myself, like, everybody don't parent like I parent, and I can't charge it to their hearts that they see things in a different way. They didn't grow up with my situation. They didn't have the parent that I had, or maybe they did and they just don't see it being, I guess, negatively affecting them, and that's okay too. It's just something that I just have to constantly remind myself. And it is what it is. However, when it comes to your parenting, even with friends, if they say things to you that you might take offensive, you got to set the boundary. Like, let's change the subject. Let's talk about something different. Let's just kind of like, just don't talk about that, because I don't want to, get into it with you about X, Y, and Z. Or, if they're questioning why you're doing things that you are doing and why you're doing it, of course you could use that as an opportunity to even inform them and help them to see how you view things and the benefits of why you're doing things. And it might even change the viewpoint of how they view it. So you never know. But if you really honestly and truly feel like, it ain't gonna get nowhere if you talk to them, and they just gonna do what they do, then don't even go there with them. Like, just let it be, I guess. So yeah, I wouldn't even get into it with nobody about anything like that. So that's the boundary for friends, especially if it's somebody who you really do cherish. Like, I wouldn't even go there with them if you don't see like a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, real quick before I decide to close this video, I'm driving, y'all, so I'm sorry, but next week we are going to talk about our so-called village that we have from our family members. We're going to talk about that because I don't think we talk about it enough, and what we can do to create our own spaces as a village. Again, we're going to talk about boundaries when it comes to our village. And I think that's something that we really need to talk about, because I don't think it's being talked about enough. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about next week. If you have any further or additional questions or comments, feel free to list them down below, and we'll go from there. All right, y'all, see y'all next time.